Good morning.
Good morning, and I think that this is like the story. And remember E.F. Hutton, the
Yes,
E.F. Hutton commercials. This is what I
we're
think.
dating ourselves.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because it should. That was one of the best marketing techniques in the world. So basically, E.F. Hutton would go ahead, and the commercial would go out where somebody's talking about how they could save them money or a tax a financial strategy, and everyone stops talking. Well, that's what you better do in Rainstorm Radio, because if you don't, you're going to miss out and not on the opportunities. Because one thing before why people should listen, Micheal, think about this, Micheal. Some of the stuff I've learned from you and other people is just unreal. And I go talk to John Q. Public, and these are business owners and different people, and they have no idea they can do these things.
Hmm, that
So,
is true. And unfortunately, their advisors have no idea sometimes that they can do these things. And if your advisor doesn't know, how are you going to be able to learn about it? That's
all
part
right.
of what we'll talk about today.
Absolutely. So, why business owners should tune in is our topic. And I think this is so important. And if I was a business owner, this is something I just got to put in my calendar and say, I got to sit down and listen to this, because this information is not going to be available to you anywhere else. If a business owner gives you 30 minutes of their time, what can they expect to learn that could immediately impact their bottom line?
Well, the number one thing that we're known for is creating significant tax savings. All right. That's the most important thing. But if you're saying, because this is a very typical part of my day where business owners schedule time with me and spend 30 to 60 minutes, the single most important thing we do is try to understand what their business is all about and the challenges that they're facing. We always have solutions. The question is which is the right or which are the right solutions for your business. But the single most important thing is they will be heard, be understood, and they will hear potential solutions before that 30 minutes is over.
What are the most common mistakes you see high income business owners making with their taxes and wealth strategies? And which one do you fix first?
So remember that the best of the best, the highest net worth, the ones that you see in the news, they don't just create significant wealth, they find a way to keep it. And one of those areas where a lot of business owners are not doing well is they're not keeping their profits. The best in this business or the best business owners are not paying 30, 40, 50% in taxes. Some of them are not paying taxes at all because their advisors know the tax code well enough to position that business to put in certain processes, certain programs that minimize their taxable income. One of the biggest mistakes is, honestly, I see a lot of businesses working with advisors who have no idea these things exist. They're not trying to grow. They're not coming up with new ideas for the business owners. Meanwhile, the business owners are working well over 100 hours a week sometimes, and spending so much time away from their family, and they're paying so much in tax that they don't have to.
They
That's
totally,
painful.
yeah. And I don't understand it. I still don't get it. It's kind of like with what I learned in healthcare this year. And I'm like, I don't get it. We are educated so much in what the average norm that everyone does. And
Yes.
then people who are experts in other areas, Micheal, try to give it advice to the public on areas they don't know about. You see this
Yeah,
all the time too, right?
absolutely. All the time. So again, this is where I share, listen, we specialize in sharing tax strategies. We're strategists. But what is the right strategy for you is a conversation you should have with your advisors and with me if necessarily, because we can't give tax advice. I know my concepts. I don't necessarily know their situations.
You've built a career on aligning strategies between accountants, advisors, and clients. What's one example of how that teamwork led to an extraordinary financial outcome?
So I'm working on one now. Um, because of my relationships, I get phone calls and I'm a sounding board to CPAs and tax professionals. Last week, I got a phone call. Micheal, so remember last week, we're in the middle of August, right? So late last week, I get a phone call saying, Micheal, I'd like to know if you have an idea for me. My client is selling his business. It's going to be about a $15 million gain, or capital gain when he sells it. So we're looking at, close to 30% of that in taxes, right? Think about that. So what, 4.5 million? Okay, great. So what can we do? So I talked to them a little bit about a concept. So the way we work is this. I don't ever want to embarrass a CPA to their client. I want to make sure the CPA knows, listen, if your client is not going to be interested in this, they'll never hear it because I'm going to teach you. And you're going to tell me, yes, that will fly, or no, they won't be interested. So I taught them this one strategy that for the for the sake of brevity, we're going to put that business in a tax-free environment. And then the client's going to sell it. In the tax-free environment, you've just eliminated nearly $5 million in taxes. $5 million, right? Think about that. So they're like, okay, so how does this work? I work them through it. Now, I have a team who will design that. These are estate planning specialists, attorneys, other CPAs who put together these structures. I introduced them to the team, the CPA firm. They got more granular understanding of that strategy. And now we're moving in with the client. I asked them outright, how do you think your client will receive this strategy? Like, oh my gosh, that's millions of dollars back in their pocket. They're going to find every way to make this work. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Unreal. Like I said, and this stuff that I did not know. And I was talking to a business owner about this, and I'm more and more working with business owners. I'm really excited because I want to say you're missing out, and they're gonna definitely have some FOMO if they don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Uh, so for business owners listening right now, what's one overlooked deduction or credit they might be missing this year?
Simple answer, but this answer is a bigger answer than you're about to hear. A lot of business owners who are paying a lot in tax have the wrong retirement program or have no retirement program built in. I'll give you an example. It was around 2015. I sat with a CPA and I usually put out a challenge out there. Hey, show me a client who, in spite of your best work, is still paying a lot in tax. The CPA showed me a couple of clients who co-own a pharma type company where they're getting significant income. I'm talking about mid seven figures, right? In the mid millions. And then I'm looking at the tax return and I see that they had SEP IRAs. At that time, they were able to put away under 50,000 each. I'm like, do you realize? I asked them, I said, how old are your business owners? They go, oh, they're in their mid 50s. And just immediately I said, listen, with your permission, I'd like to run a new retirement plan proposal for them to consider. This will allow them to put away at least another $500,000 that will be fully deductible from their income. Okay, so now we're going to reduce their annual income every year by over $500,000. And that money that they're going to put in this program is building their wealth, it is going into their retirement. So, that is a very quick thing that it took me literally 2 minutes because he's like, Mike, I only gave you 2 pages of their tax returns. I'm like, I don't need to see the rest. I see the income. I see where they're putting their retirement money. I see the tax they're paying. I'm telling you right now, that's multiple six figures in taxes that they should not have to be paying. And we're going to build their wealth instead.
All right. So that's very, very interesting that people think this. And basically, when you saw, can you share a client story where savings you uncovered directly allowed them to reinvest growing in their business?
Yes. And this is not typical, but it is something that is eye popping. So we get a phone call December of 2022 saying, we've got a client about 90 years old worth $79 million. The client is going into hospice. And my question, this is the question I asked of me, is it too late to start estate planning? You start estate planning while you're healthy. So My immediate response was, this sounds very much like my house is on fire. Is it too late to buy homeowners insurance? So, long story short, we were able to help that client and save probably north of $23 million in estate taxes. Now, the grandson who wound up benefiting, who he was the beneficiary of this, there was issues with different, children, et cetera. So the donor wanted the grandson to benefit. Long story short, he built a private equity firm with the tax savings and the wealth that he got to keep. And he's doing quite well out there in the West Coast. So again, this is money that could have been kissed and gone. 20 something million dollars could have gone to the IRS unnecessarily. And it's happening every day, Neil. It's happening every day from different people who don't know any better.
And that's what we're going to talk more on the podcast. We're just getting them a taste of this because I have so many questions. You talk a lot about reducing risk as well as taxes. What risks do business owners often overlook, and how can your strategies protect them?
So if you really think about it, right, the two key things that make you a successful business is a great business plan and, frankly, cash flow. Cash flow, right? In tight environments, cash flow becomes impacted. Well, my point is this: if in all environments you're optimized your tax position, where you're not paying any more in taxes. Again, I just showed you one company who has multiple six figures that remain in their coffers because of these strategies. So when the economy shifts, you should have a lot more capital that will reduce your risk, right? Because we all know the economy goes through different phases and so forth. There'll be times where they'll be booming, and there are times when we're going to be challenged in a recession. Well, in a recession, if you have cash and if you've built your war chest properly because you were very optimized in your tax planning, that is a huge reduction of risk, right? So like I said, the impact on many of my cases are in the millions. So we're talking conceptually, but think about the client who I just put $5 million back in their pocket. They could weather a lot of different economic storms, and that will reduce their risk.
If a listener only remembers one takeaway from this episode, what should it be, and what action should they take today to start seeing results?
The listener who is burdened with annual taxes, or they're creating a transaction, they're moving towards a decision that could potentially create a large tax. The number one thing they need to know is there are a multitude of options available to them that they should consider before they go through with the transactions. Okay, if this is an annual event where, yeah, I make a ton of money, I pay a lot of tax every year, well, I can look anybody in the eye and say, I could show you how to reduce that significantly every single time. That is the one takeaway. And then as far as, okay, so what should they do next? There should be a link at the bottom of the screen. And if they click that link, sign up, we could begin a conversation. It costs nothing. You don't have to join anything. We'll get to know each other, and then we'll share some ideas together.
All right. Well, excellent. That, again, was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the Rainstorm